Welcome to the Energetic Psyche, a weekly podcast hosted by yours truly, Dr. Adrian Campbell, where we talk about real life, challenge assumptions, and explore different ways of being in the world. This week, I have Jen Cushman joining me to discuss her unique perspective on intuition and creativity, and the unique balance of art, energy, and neuroscience that she uses during her work with others. So glad to have you here, and I hope you enjoy. So just a little bit about Jen, I wanted to share with everybody before we get started. I met Jen when I was living in Pine, Arizona. We were just like spirits that found each other through beautiful synchronicity, as it often happens. And so Jen is a multi-passionate entrepreneur focused on the pursuit of art and spirit, which means she spends her days joyfully creating what sets her heart on fire. She juggles her skills as an energy healer, an empathic intuitive, a mixed media artist and instructor, a creativity coach and maker on MadeTV network. And if there's one word that has been deleted from Jen's personal dictionary, it's boredom, which I can definitely see. Her life purpose is to empower others to find peace, clarity, happiness, and healing in their own lives, which she knows is possible because she lives it. So Jen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I absolutely appreciate it. And I would love to just get started with you telling us a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you're at now.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for that. I'm so excited to be here and to see your face again. Our Pine misses you. That's all I can say. There is a dimming of the energy in Pine with you being gone and your bright light. But thank you for having me on, and we can reconnect again. Yeah. So my journey, it's so funny because they always say, let's start at the beginning. But, my journey, I think to go back, what is that I was born with sensitivities. I was just natural born, highly sensitive person, empath. It took me a long time to know that I had, natural intuition and sensitivities. And I was born, into a household that didn't really understand that as much. And so I was also a little artist. I was always, taking apart jewelry and putting it back together, or making things, or illustrating books, or writing stories. And so my intuition got lumped in with my artistic abilities. And when I was a child, I would just kind of blurt things out, and it would freak the adults out around me. So, so my mother would just everybody would get shocked, and she'd kind of be like, oh, she has such an active imagination. She's such a great little artist. So it literally took me till my 50s to really understand that art and spirit were separate, I guess my 40s to understand that they were separate, and now in my 50s to put them back together again. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm merging all of that back together again. So that's just a little bit about me. I have always been creative. I have always been sensitive. I've always been an intuitive. I've always loved adventure, and I'm actually an introvert, but I'm a social introvert, and I do love people, and I love helping people, and I love to travel. So that's it's a little bit about me.
That's awesome. And, when you said separating art and spirit, as a Jungian, image, art, creativity, spirit, soul, psychology, it all just blends so beautifully together. Right. And I think that when we do and now you've put it back together, because I think when we do move into art, we can, through moving into art, we can find the window to the soul, the window to psyche, and explore parts of our psychology, explore parts of our energetic body that are beyond consciousness, because art connects so beautifully to the unconscious mind that it's this gorgeous pathway, right? For partnership.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. When I was in college, I got my degree in journalism. My parents were very supportive of my art when I was young, but when it came time to get a career, I had to pick a career. Right. I really wasn't allowed to be a writer or an artist because you couldn't make money on that. Right. So I remember I kind of found my way into the high school newspaper, and I was good at writing. So they're I came home and I said, okay, I'm going to be a journalist. And they were like, there, now you can make money at something. So, I did that. And then when I was in college, but I had to pick a minor, and I picked psychology. So of course, right. all of that stuff. So you're absolutely right. It was like journalism, which is communication, psychology, which is the psyche, all of that happened. And then, then kind of going into art and then moving into with COVID, I had to do a COVID pivot. And so that's when I opened my intuitive business, Soul Star Magic. And then that's when I found neurolinguistic programming, and I found mental emotion release and hypnotherapy and all of those certifications and stuff that kind of came back together. And you're absolutely right that, when I learned about the unconscious mind and I learned how it actually works, from a different perspective than from college, and I learned it, I was like, oh, of course, because those floating people on a cloud, as you paint the sky purple, is absolutely a metaphor for exactly what's going on in my waking life, where I'm having an argument with my mother-in-law, like that's the unconscious mind, right? That's the way it works.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, I get it now. I finally get it. It took a while for me to, I felt like I had, those little kid toys where you have to put the round peg in the square hole. It's like, for a while I was trying to jam that thing in there. And now finally it's like, now I'm finally at like the Matrix, where it's like, there is no spoon, it's like, I finally got it,
The holes are whatever shape we need them to be. I mean, that's
exactly right.
If it's not there, well, then it's just not time.
Absolutely. There is no hole. There is no toy.
The game is an illusion. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, okay, you've mentioned some of your certifications and your trainings, and like, your background is so varied. I mean, it competes with mine, right? And so I would love to hear kind of your journey through that. Like, you started, like you said, with journalism and psychology in school. And then how did this evolve on your little healing journey?
Yeah. So I did the art and I did the spirit thing just naturally as a kid. Went to college, picked a degree so I could have a career, got into newspapers, journalism, which, didn't know it at the time, but I was literally the dinosaur, right? I was still like one of the final, journalists there, and wanted to be an investigative reporter. That was a big thing with me, and all the other stuff I wanted to do. So I did that for a while, and psychology was just a minor because I'm fascinated by people and how their brains work and why we do the things we do. So that was just kind of there. And then my biological clock went off right about 30. And so I didn't expect it to go off. I didn't plan to be a mom, didn't plan to have kids, was literally driving from Tucson, Arizona, working in a daily newspaper, home to Mesa, Arizona, where my husband was, because we were having to live separately because of the careers. My biological clock went off, and I was like, wow, I think I'm ready for motherhood now, which was an entirely new adventure. And I found out I was having difficulties getting pregnant. So I left the hardcore newspaper business at that time, because that was contributing, the stress and the other things were really contributing to that problem that I was having. And so I had a baby, and I still wanted to write. And I was like, well, I think I'm going to write about art, because they're still talking about Michelangelo, however many years later, because I was writing about business and technology. And I was like, I don't think I can keep up with technology and a baby. So I started writing about art, and just kept doing that as a freelance career, raising my son. And then I started making mixed media art in the background. And so I was working on mixed media art. I started scrapbooking because I had a baby, but I got kicked out of that club quick, and because I was doing weird things and mixed media art. And so that's kind of what I did. And then all the while I was still also exploring metaphysics. I was still trying to make meaning of this world. Like, I was trying to make meaning of, what does this sensitivity means? Where does this clairvoyance come from? Where does this, where does this knowing come from? Because I couldn't really make sense of it. So I started doing that.
Can for just a second, because not everyone who watches or listens to this podcast knows what the term clairvoyance means.
Okay.
So if you could just describe what that means for them, that would be awesome.
Absolutely. So I believe, this is my personal belief, I believe that human beings are intuitive. I just believe that we all have a natural intuition. And we know it because we use language all the time. That doesn't feel right to me. I'm not getting a good vibe from that person. Oh, I had a gut feeling that was wrong for me, right? So in our Western society, we know that there is intuition, and yet there is still cultural conditioning, for lack of a better word, that makes it to where intuition is woo or out there or crazy, right? So, so with the natural intuition, there are clairs, right? Clairs, C-L-A-I-R-E-S, clairs or clairs, not E on the end. And it is clairvoyant, which means you have clear sight, which typically is psychic sight. There is clairsentient, which most of us have, that are healers and feelers. That is that we feel things. Clairsentient people can walk into a room, and if there was a fight going on or something was amiss or the energy's funky, you can just walk into a room and you just feel that there's something off. That's clairsentient. That's our feelers, right? There is claircognizant, which is clair-knowing. That's where you just know stuff and you don't know why, and you have no, that's what I did when I was a kid, when I was
claircognizant. My blessing and my curse right there.
That's where I would do things, and I'd be talking, or I'd meet somebody and I would just know stuff out of the blue in my little baby child mind, and I'd say things and the adults would be, because I just had clair-knowing, I just knew things. There's clairgustient, which means, you can taste it. And clairauditory, which means you hear it. So there's different ways that human beings use to touch into that energetic field, right? That the quantum field or the biometric field or the Reiki field or the energy field, whatever you want to do. That's something that exists between you and me energetically in the ethers that we can tap into to help us survive. It's really actually a survival instinct. Absolutely. Is what it is.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Did that make sense?
That was like above and beyond what I was hoping for. So yes, perfect. I love it. And I've claircognizance, especially when I'm practicing Reiki, that's what led me into becoming a coach. That's what led me into grad school, because I would be working on someone and then just know stuff that was going on with them, or have a message to share with them. And at the end of our session, I'd share whatever it was, and they'd look at me like, well, what am I supposed to do with this? And I'd be like, I don't know. Have fun, So
exactly.
I would really like to be able to help these people a little bit more. So I'm gonna go get some training. I'll be right back. And then well, that's how I found the certification. So you asked about, I know Squirrel, I went off on the wrong direction, but Squirrel, to pull me back, you asked about my certification. So what happened is I was basically front facing as an artist, right? That was my career. That's what I was doing, because I left journalism and I started making and then teaching mixed media art. So I started at, scrapbooking stores, paper art stores, rubber stamping stores in Arizona, California, all over that kind of place. Then I went to the national art retreats and started teaching there, and then internationally at the art retreats. Because of everything I do, you and I are both very similar in this. We've had the conversations of all the things we do. At our heart of hearts, we're teachers. That's really what we are. We really want to find the information, share the information, and disseminate the information in the best way possible so people can elevate and evolve and grow and become the people who they want to become. Yeah, I think it's honestly almost impossible for me to learn a new skill and then not turn around and share and
teach
and be you can do it too. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when you're a natural teacher like that, you're naturally curious, which means you're naturally seeking, right? A natural seeker. So I front faced as an artist, but underneath of it, in my background, I was studying, I found Hay House. I found, all of the metaphysics authors. I learned about energy. I learned that I was a highly sensitive and I was an empath, and I learned what that meant, and, I learned that I had clairs, because up until that point, I didn't know what they were. I didn't come from a family that told me what a clair was, and so that was just constantly being a seeker on that. And then when COVID hit, obviously I wasn't going to be able to travel and teach at the art retreats anymore. So most of my artist instructor friends went online. They just took their work and they started teaching their classes online. And yet Spirit was really clear with me, right? Spirit actually said, no, it's go time. You're supposed to come out as an intuitive now. So you're literally supposed to flip the script. You are supposed to be an intuitive, right? And an energy healer and intuitive with a background of art, you know? So I flipped the switch in 2020 and I did that. And then I started doing intuitive readings for people. And even with angels and guides, and even with Spirit, and even with the knowledge, people were coming to me with trauma, like trauma. And I was freaking out. I was like, I am not a clinician. I am not a therapist. I don't know what to do with this. Like, I was literally scared. And I really wanted to be of service. I wanted to help people. They so desperately wanted to heal. They wanted answers. And like you being a coach, it was like, this is more than just a 1 hour reading, right? This is deeper. So that's what actually I started meditating and asking my guides and my team, please help me. I need to find something of substance. Like I need to find, because you can't get really certified as a psychic, right? Like there's not a lot of psychic certifications out there. I mean,
buy one, but
yeah, you know what I mean? There are, I mean, there's some. Yeah, you know what I mean? And there are people that you can get, like James Von Prague and other people that you can get certified underneath their programs, but it's not the same as like the International Coaching Federation, right? Like it's not, you know, it's not
really not quite the same.
They're not quite the same. So I was like, and I live, you know, my husband's an engineer, my son's a computer science engineer. They find the woo-woo stuff a little bit out there. So I was like, I'm going to find the scientific proof for this. So that's when I just started asking. And then that's where I found neurolinguistic programming and mental emotional release and hypnotherapy. And then I just, you know, shouled out a lot of money and about 500 hours of training and came back and was like, okay, this is what I'm doing now. And it truly helped my clients. And now that's what led me into coaching, just like you, right? Because it's like, okay, what do you do with that? Great. I dropped a bomb. I dropped the information. Okay, here's what I know. Go do something with that. To now of like, okay, I dropped this. What can I do to support you? What kind of skills can I have to support you as you grow and change and develop and up level from this?
Yep, absolutely. And that's the thing is with like all the trainings and certifications and the thing that we learn, like you said, it's to help us be a better support for the people that we're working with. And, you know, and I think it was just my last podcast episode, we were talking about how at this point, it's not like come to me for X, Y, Z. It's come to me and let's talk and let's see what I have in my toolbox that's going to work for you. And it's all about empowering them to be able to heal themselves as far as I'm concerned. And so the more that I know, the more tools that I have, and being a teacher, right, the more I can share that with them and teach them so that it's like long lasting wellness. It's not, you have to come back to me every week for, you know, 5 months. And then once we're done, like, I mean, I hope it works out, but I'll be here when it doesn't, you know? So yeah. Which is why I became a Reiki teacher, is so that it wasn't just come get Reiki. It's let me teach you to do Reiki.
Exactly.
Then you can take care of yourself, you know, and you won't need me. Which is so it seems counterintuitive to business, but it's absolutely not, because in this business, that's what we're here for, you know.
Absolutely.
So one of the things I wanted to make sure that we talk about is your Reiki training, because you have another unique style of Reiki, one that was unique to me when I first heard it. And so I'd love for you to chat a little bit about that type of Reiki, what your training was like, and if it makes your sessions any different, or if there's anything specific to it.
Yeah, so I started traditional Usui Reiki. I learned Usui Reiki when my son was born. And what happened, and it's funny because a lot of my training stemmed from me wanting to help other people. And in reality, I find them because I need to help myself first, right? And I think that's most healers and feelers, right? Most people, we want to help others. We're naturally drawn to it, but we need to heal, or we do need to heal ourselves first, right? We need to work on that first before we can help others. So, my son was just this rough and tumble little boy. Like I always said, he wouldn't let me be a helicopter mom, but I had to catch him on the bounce because that's what happened, So
Right.
he was, and so I just was like, so I was just like, what can I do to help this kid? How can I support this kid? And so I learned Reiki. I found a really great school in the Phoenix area from a woman. Her name's Marsha Craven. She's now retired. She ran a school for healing arts that was continuing eds for massage therapists is what she did. And so I started getting trained. She's really in the Phoenix area. She's well known and well respected. And I just fell into her. You know what I mean? I just got really lucky and fell into her. And of course I didn't. I was guided, and I was my guides, even though I didn't talk to them, then helped me find her. So I found her. I did my Reiki training with her, and Reiki, even though I did it to help my son, Reiki actually was the thing that changed my life as a empath. It was finally how I finally could manage my energy, because up until finding Reiki at 31 years old, I was a walking, open, receiving, transmitting dish is what I was, right? And I suffered I suffered health issues from that. Like I struggled with weight my whole entire life because I kept this protective layer on me to, just try to dampen all that stuff that was coming in. And, so Reiki changed my life, and that was just the Sui Reiki. And then I did all of the levels with Marsha all the way through master teacher. I really didn't teach it at that point because I was raising a little one. And then I decided I wanted to go back when my daughter was younger, and I wanted to go back. And so I got some more education. And then, I don't know, I got more training because I just love to collect trainings and certifications. And then I found a teacher named Rod Lyman, and he teaches all forms of Reiki. So he teaches Holy Fire, he teaches Usui, he teaches Blue Star Celestial, what I'm getting to. He teaches a shaman Reiki. Like if there is a Reiki to be had, he puts something in front of it and teaches it. Like, it's amazing. He's an incredible man and mentor. So I was just on his list, and I saw something called Blue Star Celestial Reiki. And I'm like, what the heck is that? That sounds very cosmically fun. So let's take a cosmic journey here. And then he sent me the stuff, and he was like, are you a Palladian? Are you it just like, I don't know. It was just crazy. And I was like, this is fun. So I got trained in it. And the very first thing we did, which was so fascinating, is we actually did energetic training, energetic movement to turn our chakras around. So we turned our chakras around, right? Yeah. So weird. So my crown chakra became my root. My root became my crown, and my heart stayed the same because the heart is the bridge between the uppers and lowers, right? Your people know about chakras, right? Do I need to explain chakras, or are we good?
I mean, some do, some don't. We won't do it on this podcast or this episode, though. So don't worry.
Good. Yeah. Let's just go big picture, broad picture. Chakras are energetic centers that runs like a column from the root of us all the way up to the top of us. Okay. And there's 7 of them. Well, there's more, but for this purposes, we're just going to stick with the basics. So turn my chakras upside down. Never experienced anything like that in my life. Literally felt like an out-of-body experience, and was just like, I don't know what this is and what this healing does, and continued it for the class and got certified in it. And it's different symbols, it's different energy, it's different healing. And the only thing I can say about energy work for me is that it's a different flavor. The energy is the foundation no matter what, right? So it's literally like, I have you have the onions, you have the celery, you have the carrots, you have the basic ingredients of what you need to do for your energy work. And it's just a matter of the person who's doing it, the practitioner, right? What are your unique skills? and what is the flavor of that particular Reiki. So Blue Star, I would say I'd be adding more cosmic space dust into things. That's kind of what it is more than the traditional Usui. Traditional Usui is more like, it's more like, I've got my mushrooms and my classic Japanese things that I have,
Yeah.
So there is that. And I love it. And then I also started on another path where I'm doing Huna now. And Huna is traditional Hawaiian, ancient Hawaiian energy and spiritual work. And next month I'm going to Hawaii and I'll be doing the next level of Huna certification.
Oh my God. Okay. Before we go into that, because I want you to talk about your NLP training and how it led you to Huna.
Yeah.
We wanted to touch on the fact that like the Reiki changing your life.
Okay.
I will say, as a teacher and as a practitioner, that is the one thing that I've seen be like common throughout. And I often will joke with my students that Reiki is like the gateway drug to spirituality. Like, 100%. If you're not sure what's going on, come on in. You're going to connect to source, and source is going to be like, I got you. This
Absolutely.
is what's happening. And
I love it.
It finds all the beautiful, special, unique things about you. It opens them up. And it just like, in my experience, it's like helps people find their path. And like, it's yes. like clears all the dust out of the way. And then you're like, oh shit, that's where I was supposed to go. Mm-hmm. Got it.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's one of the most amazing things I've seen completely repetitive in so many of my students, so many of my own experiences, so many of my clients, that it really does. It just opens the door and helps you get where you're going. And I think it's just like, especially when you get trained as a practitioner, you're just kind of like removing something that's in the way between you and source. And once you're connected, things are just so much more clear. It's incredible, like absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it is. There is something. And what I love about Reiki when I first learned about it is a spiritual path, but it's not religious. There's no actual religious form to it. There's not a system of, that in there. So it can work. It doesn't matter what your faith is. It's not a faith-based kind of energy. It's that energy is energy. Like it goes literally into quantum physics, right? It's in that kind of energy is just energy. It's like it cannot be destroyed. It cannot be, it's just change. It is energy. And so Reiki works with energy and then works with source and connects us up. Like you said, it's like, I love Reiki for me now that I saw the Avatar movie, but in the beginning, it's like I didn't do it. But now that I have a visual and internal representation in NLP, I have a visual for it, which is like in the Avatar movie where the tail has those little things come out of it and then they connect it to another living
give me
thing,
goosebumps.
right? Yes. That's what Reiki is for me. So when I feel it, when I feel it before I go to work on somebody, I connect up to source and I literally feel the tingles. I feel like that connection where all of a sudden source is like, takes those little tendrils and goes, whoop, and then I'm one.
It's
and
awesome.
Then it's just the channel, right? And then it's a channel for healing. And then I just have to, I'm like, okay, ego, okay, mind, okay, thing, get out of the way because you're going to mess this up. So get out of the way, go take a nap and allow it to just flow. Yeah. And then when it does, it's really unlike anything else in the world. It's amazing.
It really is. I was talking to somebody, another Jungian coach type the other day, and I was explaining how, like, when I first started practicing Reiki, I was teaching electronics at a nuclear power plant. and people are always like, how do you believe this wacky crap? Like, when you're a scientist, like, what? And the thing is that when I started doing it, I did a ton of research because that's what I do. And
Absolutely.
I realized, like, one, I knew it was real through my own practice, right? But then two, like, we don't have the technology to prove this. And because it's not lucrative enough, there's no push towards it, right? So, I mean, I like to say, judge the tree by the fruit that it bears. And the fact that like so many beautiful positive results have come from me working with this energy for myself, my clients, my students, like I will never stop teaching it. Like I don't care if I make $1 million doing something different. I will always maintain my connection to Reiki because it's absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And what a beautiful synchronicity and dichotomy that you were working at a nuclear power plant and you found Reiki. Like, to me, like,
electrical theory,
right? Like, what do you mean that's not science? Like, I'm literally working with energy every single moment of every single day. It just, one is fueling a power plant and the city, and the other is fueling me and you and my clients. And it's still the same thing, right?
Well, and when I was in the Coast Guard, so I was a technician, I ran weapon systems, but I worked on computers, electronics, radars, stuff like that. I could feel the energy. So like they'd be, you know, one of the other techs would be like, oh, I secured power. And I'd say, I don't think you did. And he'd say, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't know. I feel like the cabinet's on. And they would be like, what? And I'd be like, come on. And someone would be like, oh, Campbell's doing her stupid psychic crap again. Just go check the power.
Yeah.
Because I was always right. And they'd be like, how do you know that? I'm like, I don't know. I can just feel it in my body. Like, I know there's energy in that, you know, and they're just like, you're weird. But it's a thing.
So what I've come to find out about that in my research is I really have come to find out that highly sensitive people and empaths, our nervous systems are built differently.
Yeah. Yeah,
we absolutely are built differently. And so what happens is, you know, we're human or humanoid or whatever, but we have a different, you know, and we're 10% to 18. They can't figure out how many of us there are, right? It's like anywhere from 10 to 18% of the population, but there is scientific confirmation and other things that are coming up that our nervous systems are on high alert. And we are built differently. We were built way back when we lived in tribes as the canaries in the caves. Like, we literally were built in order to keep everybody safe because we could sense danger. And I have to tell you, sensing electricity when, you know, lightning may strike or, you know, something may happen, that's a very valuable skill when you're living in tribes.
Goosebumps during this conversation. And, you know, this is kind of a side note, and I'm going to bring us right back, but it makes me think what an interesting piece of research, because so both of us are highly sensitive people. We both love water. And water is a beautiful conductor of
electricity, friend.
So I would be interested. I'll have to put this on the list for stuff to research.
But the never-ending Adrian list.
I know, seriously. But not only the nervous systems and how they're different in highly sensitive people, but I wonder if the water content level or the way we react with the water molecule is different. Like, maybe.
Future book by Dr. Adrian Campbell. I see it coming.
Very possibly. So yeah, but this actually takes me exactly to the other thing I was going to touch on from what you were sharing, is that highly sensitive people often go get trained in Reiki. I've had several come to my class. In fact, the post I made on Facebook or Instagram today was about this, because we are completely raw, right? Or you do energy work and you found your path, but you're just getting burnt out nonstop because you're using your own energy. And Reiki can create or help you create those boundaries. It can help you create protections that are healthy and intentional. And it can help you channel an energy much stronger than you that gives you a session as you give a session. So it's actually calming, relaxing, and healthy to work with energy instead of overwhelming or taxing.
Exactly. Yeah. Reiki taught me about my own energy system, and it taught me how to manage it. And through the continued working of it of over 24 years now that I've been working with it, now I actually modulate my energy with Reiki. I can actually modulate. I can turn it up. I can turn it down. I can do it. So I can play. It's like magic for me, right? It's like, it's really fun because I can play with my own energy. If I feel myself being very tired during the middle of the day, and it's like, you know, I can go grab a cold brew, or I can sit down and do a 15-minute energy session on myself to modulate my energy. And truthfully, I'm human, which means half the time I do the cold brew, and then the other half of the time I do the energy work, and I'm smart enough to know that the energy work is way healthier and better for me than grabbing the caffeine is, you know?
Sometimes the cold brew is what your soul needs, though. You got to take care of the soul as well, you
Absolutely.
know,
Absolutely.
balance.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, okay. So let's move on to NLP.
Okay.
So how'd you get into that? How did that happen?
Yeah, so I started Soulstar Magic. I started my intuitive business to do my intuitive reading. So during COVID, I was doing distance Reiki and distance healings, and then I was doing a lot of distance Reiki, which is so funny because up until then, I really hadn't done much distance Reiki because people thought you had to have hands on. But when everybody's in lockdown, there's no option other than distance. All of a sudden, they're like, okay, I guess I'll try this weird thing. I don't know how it works. And I'm like, well, let's talk about quantum mechanics and let's talk about quantum entanglement, or why don't you just lay down and, it's good. Right. So
I got you.
Exactly. Just trust me, so I did a lot of distance Reiki, and then that was kind of the gateway. That's what got people in. And then from there, they were wanting to do the readings and other stuff and just kind of keep experiencing my energy. And then that's when once I had the readings, Reiki, I had it down, right? You know what I mean? Like me and my guides, my energy source, we got spirit, we have that down. When I started doing the readings and they came with trauma and they came with other things, that's when I was like, ooh, I need help. I need certifications. I need help. So I literally kept going into meditation every single day, trying to find out information like, what is this COVID thing? How long is it going to last? What do I need to do? Am I really giving up my art business? Like, how long do I have to do this? Because I said yes to source. So like, okay, how long did I just sign up for? A commitment, all those things. So I would go in. I would go into meditation every single day to get, to have a communication and contact with source. And it's what kept me grounded and sane during COVID. I didn't turn, I watched very little news and I did the internal system. So that's really what I did. And then that's when I just kept praying, because I was like literally petitioning, praying, whatever you want to call it, in my meditations. That was like, please bring me the right information, bring me the right people, bring me the right stuff in order to be able to help them. And like a lot of things, source works through people we know, right? Source will give you the people and the information that you need. So a really good girlfriend of mine at the time, I was just having a conversation with her and I'm like, I need something. And she was like, oh, I know what you need. I know this company. And she's like, and I know this thing. It's called neuro-linguistic programming. It's called mental emotional release. And it helps people release their limiting beliefs and their baggage and their negative emotions. And it helps them start fresh. And it gets to the root cause and it pulls it up and it'd be great for you. And I was like,
oh my God. Okay.
And then, so I went to the first training, and it's like the company, it's called Empowerment Inc. And I went for the first training. They've been in business for 40 years. They're not a fly-by operation. And I went to my first one and I loved it and I learned some things. And so then I put my money where my mouth was and I went on. And this company that I have, this company is so amazing because they do NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and mental emotional release, and hypnotherapy, and Huna, which is the spiritual thing. So they work with the three selves, the higher self, the unconscious mind, the conscious mind, and the four bodies, right? So the spiritual body, mental body, emotional body, and physical body. And for me, I'm like, all right, sign me up. That is holistic health. And I was looking for holistic health. So that's, I went the mental route first with the NLP mouth, which is very mental. Even though I was drawn to the energy work, everything inside of me told me I needed to do the science-based part of it and then go back to what I'm comfortable with and what I know. And so that's how I finally got back to Huna. Which was amazing. So last March was my first level of Huna. I took my daughter, who was 13 at the time, because she's a sensitive and she needs to learn to modulate her energy and handle it because she's a walking, thing right now. So I brought her with it and started to get the training with her so she can do it. And then, like I said, we're going back for the other levels because I love it, because it's another flavor of energy work. And for me, it feels pure. It feels like a tuning fork. And I don't know how to explain it any other way. But there's just something so incredibly pure for me about it. And I think it's because it's so ancient, because it goes back, the lineage, Hawaii being the island that it was, it took a long time for them to get colonized. So unlike a lot of the Native American traditions and a lot of the, in the shaman in the Peru and a lot of the other places that were colonized over time, and where their energy and their spirituality teachings were affected and sometimes eradicated, Hawaii was one of the last ones to be touched by it.
It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I got my Reiki master training in Hawaii, in Maui. Yeah. And it was the first time I had been to that island, and I am so connected to it. I mean, there's a whole story I'm sure I've shared with you of getting trapped in the jungle there, which is where I met Donna Mae, who I go back and visit every year now. And doing Reiki there. Like I go every year in December for my birthday. This past December I went, and I always give Donna Mae a session, and it's just incredible. Like the heaviness of the spirit that shows up, it's just thick and juicy and just so alive. Like I've never done Reiki like that anywhere else in the world. Like it's absolutely luscious, I think is the word I want to use. It's beautiful. Absolutely.
It is. Yeah. It's a very, sensual, full body experience, and I mean sensual in the fact that it's like everything, every sense lights up, the five senses plus all of the other senses that are around there. And there is just something, there is a call there that I don't understand. I do believe that I have past lives as Hawaiian. Like I do believe that there is that, this knowledge that is being taught to me, there is something so inherently familiar about it that it's almost like I know it already. Even though I'm learning it, I know it. It's just it's so hard to talk about energy this way. People are like, oh, that's why they're woo. You know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, they're going off again. And I'm like, but when you know, girlfriend, when you're woo, woo.
When you meet somebody and you feel like you've known them for years and years and years, I mean, you can dismiss it and be like, well, that's crazy. But why? Like the way I look at it, and I'm like, why not let magic exist in your life?
Exactly.
It makes the world so much more fun.
Right.
Just be like, oh, maybe we had a past life together. Like, who knows? Like,
I know.
It's fun,
Well, that's what I loved about you when I met you. It's like your eyes lit up, my eyes lit up. And then there was something it was like we had an unspoken agreement to play together,
I love that.
It was just like, all of a sudden, it was like we were little 5-year-old girls that all of a sudden we're going to have a play date together. There was just something. There was something in there. Again, it's the energy, it's the vibe, it's the, and that really is. So you find your people no matter what.
And it just works out. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to transition us. So tell me what kind of sessions you typically do. And like, I know we said there's nothing ever typical, but like, I know you do one-on-one sessions and you do a few different types of things. So just like if someone was going to come to you, what would a few different varieties of a session look like? And then you have some really exciting stuff coming up. And I made a reel about your deck.
Oh, thank you.
The other day. It's
awesome.
So I love it. So
I was in session all day, girlfriend, so I didn't get to share, but I will share all of it. So thank you for that.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So since it's in my hand, I'm just going to show these anyway. Yeah. Then you can tell us a little bit about the process.
I have my deck here too. So we can
we match.
Yep.
So just tell us a little bit about like what you offer.
Well, I'm still doing distance Reiki sessions.
Okay.
So this is my healing home office studio that I have here, but I live in Pine, which is the size of a postage stamp on the size of a size of a pin on the size of a postage stamp. Like, in-person sessions are not really something we do very well in Pine because we're so small, as you know. So I still do a lot. I'll do my distance Reiki, or really now I just call them distance energy sessions, because again, my Mary Poppins bag has gotten, that it's like, people come and I'm like, well, what do they need? So we come in and it's like, what do you need? So it always starts with, what are your needs and requirements? What are you looking for? What are you needing? Where are you wanting support? And I also, and I think we've touched on this before, but I want to say it very, very clearly. I have healing abilities, and I have a hard time calling myself a healer, because really I'm not healing anybody. I am a guide or a conduit for my clients' healing. I am a conduit for other people to tap into their own inner knowing, their own inner resources, their own truth and knowledge, so they can heal themselves. So that's what I do as Reiki. So I do distance things. I'm trained and certified, again, in Angel Tarot card reading. So I'll do Angel Tarot. I don't do traditional Tarot. I'm not trained in it. I don't actually understand the symbology of it as much, but I'm really good with Angel Tarot because I have angels. Mm-hmm.
And I'll just say, in case you don't, you do your Magic Mondays every Monday at what time?
11 a.m. Arizona time, which is, we don't. Shifts, because Arizona and Hawaii, the two states that don't do daylight savings, right?
Yep, absolutely. And I always, I try to make them. For some reason, my timing is always so difficult for me. But I love when you do your card readings on those. Like, they're always so spot on and so fantastic. So if you guys are listening or watching, you can check out our Magic Mondays live on our Facebook page and see an example of those card readings.
And that's free. I just do that because that's my community. That's how I build a community. So I call it a love and learn topic. So I do about 20 minutes of a topic where I teach, because teaching is more fun, and it can go anywhere. It can run the gamut from ghost and paranormal to orbs to chakras to lately I've been on a series of emotional intelligence. So I'm doing psychology and positive psychology and emotional intelligence and regulating the nervous system. So that's kind of my newest thing right now. So I do that. And then at the end of it, I pull cards I'll do a card pull for people that are on there. And I use my own deck, I came out with this last year, been wanting to do it forever. And it is called Joyful, Full, Joyful, a deck for creatives, healers, and feelers. And I did all the own artwork. This is all my own drawings and all my own artwork. And then they're intuitive prompts that are very simple, like this is brand new day, which is pretty simple. And then I wrote a guidebook where, I channeled and worked with spirit to write a guidebook. And then at the end of it, I added a little bit of NLP in there, and I put in a deeper question so you can work with your unconscious mind a little bit to loosen things up and figure out, what is more. So you can go very simple and shallow, and you can just figure out what the message is of the day, or you can take it and you can actually ruminate on the question throughout the whole day to see if you need to learn something more about yourself. So that's my card deck. And then the sessions I do empathic intuitive readings, which are, pretty typical, readings, for what people are coming in and what they need with their questions. And then I do coaching. And so that's my Illuminate coaching program, which is I help women who are stuck and who really want to get unstuck, find their path, find their purpose, so they can radiate joy and creativity and happiness.
I love how clearly you describe and have named and labeled your stuff. Because I don't know if you've gone through this, but whenever I'm bringing together something new, I'm writing a couple books I'm trying to get finished for this event in April, and just the titles, I'm like, I struggle so hard getting the words, and you flow it so beautifully. I just that and envy it just a little bit, just so you know.
So I don't know whether to say thank you or to tell you that I'm just faking it till I make it. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's I just You throw it out there. I'm a recovered perfectionist. I really am. I was taught in my childhood, gunk and other stuff that I've done. I've done my release work, my break. I'm living proof that this works, right? Because I've put myself through it, and I had to clear out a lot of the gunk. And some of the stuff that was in my pipes was definitely perfectionism. Perfectionism is fear, and of not doing it right, not being good enough, those kind of things. So I had to clear that out. And so as a recovered perfectionist, even though I still have my moments, one of the things is progress, not perfection. You just can't. If you will never have results if you wait for the perfect moment. There is never a perfect moment. You really have to create what sets your heart on fire, figure out what lights you up, and then just do it. And life is messy, and you may totally fall on your ass a million different times trying to get where you need to go. And you get up and you change it. And you know what? It's just a title. What do? You just rewrite it. So
I tell people, I'm always like, just look at life as an experiment.
It is.
Like when scientists do an experiment and it doesn't go the way they anticipated, they're not like, oh man, I'm such a failure. It's more like, well, that didn't go as planned. So we know what doesn't work. Now, what did we learn from this, and what do we need to shift or change to do this again? Or are we going to do it different? Right?
Absolutely. There is no failure. There is only feedback. Yep.
I love it.
Exactly. That's it. There's only feedback.
Speaking of progress versus perfection, let's also talk about your art stuff, because you're doing stuff with MadeTV now, and you have a couple of retreats coming up this summer.
Yeah. So last year I decided to branch off into another part of my business, and I'm calling it Soul Stirring Retreats. And I go to the south of France. I've been teaching retreats in the south of France for 12 times, like not just 12 years in a row, but over it. So I go to this very beautiful rural part in the south of France where there's a retreat house there called La Cascade. And I've been doing my own art retreats. They've been art retreats, not art plus spirit. They were always art. That was part of my front facing, and I did those. And so I did a retreat this last summer because, again, I had sold out ones in 2020 and they shut down. So getting back to it as soon as I can after the pandemic. And I did one last summer, and I truly thought it was completion energy. I thought I was going to be done with the south of France and I wasn't going to be going. But Spirit had another plan, and I came back. I had wicked jet lag, and I woke up at 4:30 in the morning with a total download that not only was I not supposed to stop, I was supposed to expand. So yeah. And it's from Spirit because you would never in your life do it you would never have the idea. Right? You're just like, insane. It's like, no, crack up my life and add another layer of busyness to my life. Like, no. And then all of a sudden your insides are like, yes, perfect. I so want to do it. That's exactly what we're going to do. Right. And it's like, and that's how it's from Spirit, because it resonates. It's true. It's right. Everything tells you, every person is going to tell you why it doesn't work. And everything inside of you says, no, this is going to work. Right. And it's because Spirit says, no, this is going to work. So I just had to lean into it. So I opened Soul Stirring Retreats, which means I'm going back to France. And this time I'm living there for a month, and I'm doing 3 retreats, but I'm not the instructor. I'm bringing in amazing guest artists, and they are the instructors, and I'm the support system, and I'm the one that is handling all of the, setting it up, doing the website, doing the excursions, doing all the logistics, getting the rental vans, making sure everybody's safe, collecting the fees, buying the magazine. Yep. So that's Soul Stirring Retreats, and that's what I'm doing. And I've got them coming up, and we've only got a couple spots left. One retreat is completely sold out, and the others have, I think, I just got a new sign up today. So I think one has 2 spaces left, and another one might have 2 or 3.
That's amazing. So now, are you combining art with Spirit during these retreats, or are they just?
No, so they're really just art. So they're still staying as art retreats. And down the road, I'll be in 2025, I'll be doing my own art retreat back again. And it is going to be a beautiful mashup of art plus Spirit. So, but I
go.
Yeah. So that's kind of the plan for that one, is to do it. And I'll be there to have I'm sure, great energetic conversations. And I'm sure when people get tired, I'll be there and I'll be doing some Reiki on them. And, I'm sure I'll be hands-on. Well, the source finds a way to have conversations no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, of course.
So that's Soul Stirring Retreats. So that's what I'm doing. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. All through end of May and June this year.
Nice. Okay. And we have just about 5 minutes left. So MadeTV.
Oh, MadeTV. Oh, I forgot. Okay. So
it's fun for me because people are always like, Adrian, you're so busy. You're in all these different areas. And now I'm like, look at her. Look at her go. She's just getting me.
MadeTV is a new streaming network for makers, is what it is. And it is, it's madetv.network. And it is like, it's Netflix, right? So, but it's for makers. So it's a subscription base, and they're doing lifetime memberships, or they're doing annual memberships. And so, like a Gaia TV or a, Hulu, it is subscription based service, and it's for makers. And there is about 58 of us, I think, that joined on the very beginning. It opened in August of last year. They put the call out in May of last year. I was not planning to do it. There was no way I was going to add one more thing to my plate. And then my fellow instructor friends are all like, Jen, you have to do this. You have to do this. And I was like, nope. And then, and spirit, you know what I mean? So came in and was like, no, you're going to do this. And I was like, okay, so I'm going to do it. So yeah, so I contribute, I do art. So this is art-based because it's makers, and I do art projects, and I add them and I put them up there, and I just am a contributor to that. And it was really cool because we just they have collaborations. They're doing it. They were doing it with Schiffer Book Publishing, so I just participated in a book pitch with my deck. So I got to do a book pitch, and I wasn't one of the top 3 that was accepted, but I did just get an email 2 days ago that said, we'd like to hear more information from you. So I just spent 3 hours today basically writing a book proposal for my deck that I've already published, but to get reach and to get that out there. So that's what MadeTV is.
Cool. Right on. Man.
Yeah.
Every time I do these podcasts, I'm always like, I think I know how it's going to go and what we're going to talk about. And then I'm always just like, I have so much fun and I'm so excited because I know all of my guests. It's not like we haven't talked before, but to just be able to spend time just getting to know you more and hearing about, what you do is just, I don't know. It's
awesome. And in an hour, you actually, I literally have nothing else to tell you. That's all I'm doing. I promise you, there is nothing else on my plate right now that I can possibly share with you.
God. Okay. So is information about all of this on your website?
It is.
Okay. Soulstirmagic.com.
Soulstirmagic.com. And if you want to just retreat information, then it's soulstirringretreats.com. So I'll go there still. It's all mashed up together, but but that's it. So everything's on my website. And surprisingly, the only thing that is not on my website right now is actually images of my art. So I need to put some of my other art images up there and create an art gallery. But that's, other than that, everything else is up there.
Cool. Right on. And I'll put the link to, beneath the video and on the YouTube and Spotify and all that good stuff.
Well, I'm going to share it.
Before we separate, I always ask every guest, if there was one thing you wanted to share with everybody, what would it be?
Learn Reiki.
Well, I happen to have a class.
I was going to say, I know a pretty amazing instructor who actually teaches Reiki really, really, really well and has some amazing classes coming up. Like you do have classes that you're going to be teaching and other things coming up, right? Yeah. I know you're teaching one when I'm at Huna, which would bum me out because I actually couldn't take your class because I'm studying Huna at the time, but I'm planning to come get a review with you. But yeah, Reiki is, Reiki, to be able to understand the bioelectric field that we all have, right? And to understand that we are energy, which again, I know we have to go, but this is a weird concept because if you go to the doctor and they want to check your EKG, they literally hook you up to a machine and check the electrical impulses, which is like, right, where beings, that helps you. And so it's like, it helps manage your energy. It helps manage your emotions. It helps you sleep better. It manages your female hormones better. Like, you can do Reiki on yourself. You can do it for other people. You can do it for you love. You don't have to do it as a business. You can really just do it. So if there's one thing I'd love to tell everybody is learn your own biometric energy system and learn Reiki. And if you have the chance, learn it from Dr. Adrian Campbell, because she actually is a pretty amazing instructor.
Well, thank you so much, Jen. I do. I have an in-person class in Columbia, Missouri. I'm looking at my calendar here, April 6th and 7th. And then I have an online class, which is April 20th, 27th, and May 4th. It's across 2.5 weeks because it's online, and that includes individual mentoring with me too. So whether you're in Columbia or you're distant, if you're interested, let me know. Send me a message. It's all on my website, energeticpsyche.com. Well, cool. Jen, again, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us. I see your team around you. I get it.
I know. So thank you so much for joining me. I really enjoyed our time together. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thanks you guys. It's been a great time. I appreciate you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining us on the Energetic Psyche, a weekly podcast that live streams every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on both Facebook and Instagram, and is uploaded the following day to YouTube and Spotify. We hope you'll join us next week for our next episode. And in between, I hope you have a lovely few days. Take care.